Hello, and welcome to Make a Difference, the show where we shine a spotlight on change makers and everyday heroes who are making a difference right here in Montgomery County, Maryland. I'm your host, Florence Jewell. Our unity is our strength, and our diversity is our power. This is a quote from Kamala Harris, former Vice President of the United States. These words from Kamala Harris reminds us that when communities come together, transformation happens. In this episode, we shine a spotlight on CareerCatchers, a Silver Spring, Maryland-based nonprofit that provides low-income and disadvantaged individuals with job counseling, workplace training, and they unlock potential, open doors, and empower individuals to build meaningful futures. Joining me is the co-founder of CareerCatchers and the executive director, Marianna McNeill. Later in the show, we'll continue our conversation on community, diversity, and empowerment with Montgomery County Caribbean Liaison, Rodrigue from the Office of Community Partnership. Let's dive into the conversation with our guests. Welcome to the show, Marianna.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Marianna, I usually start the show by getting to know the person, what their organization is doing, and why. So let's start with who you are and what you do.
Okay, thanks. I'm Marianna McNeill. A lot of people call me Mana. And I started CareerCatchers with another person, Ronnie Haber, in 2007. And we had the idea that if you were disadvantaged in some way and trying to find a job, what was holding you back typically was the things that a lot of us took for granted. A resume, knowing how to present yourself at an interview. How do you find jobs to apply to, that sort of thing. So what we realized was that people needed some individual support. And that was different from the other vocational programs that existed in the county, that individual component. And so we gave it a whirl, and I had come from the private sector, never really had run a nonprofit, never thought about running a nonprofit. And here we are in 2025, and I have 9 employees, and we serve 1,000 people a year, and I feel like that model of individual service really made a difference.
Absolutely, and thank you, and congratulations on your success. Let's talk about your clients. They are unique in your population that you serve. So talk about a little more about the clients.
Sure, I'll go back to our roots again because I think that we've stuck to that pretty well. When we started CareerCatchers, we had this idea, and we realized we had to prove the idea, right? You can't just say, give me money, I have a great idea. So we went to Stepping Stone Shelter, and we went to the Montgomery County Abused Persons Program, and we went to Green Tree Shelter, and we said, hey, we're willing to come a couple times a week and provide these services that we think will make a difference in the community. And so we did that. And after about 6 months, they realized they were seeing a difference in what was going on in these people's lives. Wonderful. They were finding work. They were becoming more empowered. They were having hope, right? And so we started getting funding through those groups. Stepping Stone Shelter got us a grant through the county. We got a grant with the Abused Persons Program and the domestic violence part of the county. And from that, we grew to other organizations who needed services. And they would contract with us to provide those kinds of services to their constituents, if you will. And then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, the Community Foundation and some of the other, and the Montgomery County government realized that what CareerCatchers had was these relationships with the people who most needed services during COVID. People were losing jobs, so it wasn't that they were looking to us to necessarily get jobs for people. They were looking for that connection we had with our clients. At this point, we had served 2,000 people when COVID started, from the beginning till then. We kept good records about our client names, their backgrounds, what they needed. And so we reached out to them and said, hey, this is the perfect time. First of all, we can help you get unemployment benefits because the government was giving really big unemployment benefits. So we helped them with that. And we said it's a great time to get training. So when jobs open up again in the county or in the area, you'll be ready. So we focused on training, we focused on helping people get unemployment benefits, we focused on helping them get food resources, And that's what really, during COVID, the county realized and other organizations realized that those connections that we had were the valuable part of what those services that CareerCatchers does.
Absolutely, and the connections. So in terms of the connections and building on that, when you train your clients, talk about the companies that they're placed in. And of course, to me, I'm seeing the economic growth with putting people into working positions.
Right.
So talk a little bit about the other side of the equation,
Yeah.
the employers.
It's a very important side of the equation. So again, during COVID, I think is when that really came to a head, right? Because we had employers reaching out saying, okay, we're trying to hire people, but nobody wants to come back to work. Nobody wants to do this. The county had trouble filling a lot of their positions. So we said, you know what, we really should be doing more outreach within the employer community. And we did start to do it. And what the value proposition that employers see with us is that we have these clients we've been working with. We make sure they understand workforce development, what they need to do to be in a workplace.
Absolutely.
And we continue to work with them once they're hired. So Holy Cross Health, Starbucks, Goodwill Industries, they found that part of the value proposition invaluable, right? You're not only helping us find candidates who meet the requirements of the job, but now you're telling us you're going to keep working with them once they've started working and make sure that they're successful. We all know that the first couple of months of a new job is the most critical.
Absolutely.
Because everything's new, you're trying to prove yourself, the employer wants to see you doing well, and so that's the time where a lot of people just quit or fall by the wayside. And so that's where we realize we can step up and help clients maintain their employment and think about what the next step in their employment is going to be, their career path.
Absolutely. And so again, the value you're bringing is staying with the client, and then also the recipient of the services are benefiting by you being the one to continue to develop their workforce. Talk about the services that you offer in that development process. You know, I
sure.
imagine time management, organizational skills.
All those kinds of things, exactly.
What else, what other training or products or services are you offering?
So I think of what we offer as having sort of four components, I guess. The first is we'll meet with you. Florence, you need a job. Let me see if you're ready. What do your resume look like? What is your education? What is your background? What kinds of skills do you have for the workplace? And we together would come up with a plan, an employment plan, right?
Absolutely.
This is what I want to do. But you would say to me, but you know what I really want to do is I really want to become a medical assistant,
Yes.
which requires a little additional training from what you might have. So we'd say, okay, let's get you a job in a hospital, starting out in an entry-level kind of role, and let's find a medical assisting program that you can take. Either maybe the hospital will pay for it, or we'll find some other resources. Montgomery College has scholarships. We know where other scholarship and opportunities are. So then we would help you with that kind of training. And then additionally, we provide 2 workshops a week. One that is empowering to help you with your own self-esteem and that kind of thing. And the other which really focuses on, like what you're talking about, time management. How do you ace the interview? How do you present yourself when you're talking to people? How do you network? A lot of our clients don't have the networks we assume that most people would have, right? They have a spotty work history, or maybe they were a domestic violence in their past, and so they don't have the networks of employers and that. So we create a network for them, and we introduce them to the employers that we're working with. And then once they find a job, as I said, we help them with job retention. And then the final piece is really that we keep looking for employer contacts so that they can grow in their careers.
And you keep using the word we, and again, you talked about the size of your staff. Let's talk about who make up the we, or the
we of CareerCatchers. Okay.
Absolutely.
So we have staff, and there are 9 staff members at the moment. Myself and Kunda, who is my program director. And Kunda and I both do some career counseling too, but the majority of the career counseling is done by our 5 career counselors. And then we have, and they all work with different populations. And then we have someone whose sole job is our data, because data is so critical to showing our outcomes, showing employers, hey, look, this is how many people we work with. These are their skill sets. We wouldn't know that if we didn't have the data to back that up.
Absolutely.
And then to get grants or to maintain our grants and our contracts, we have to prove that we're doing something with the clients we're working with. So that's our paid staff. And then we have about 5 contractors who provide different services. And most of those contractors came to us through the Volunteers in Service to America, the VISTA program.
Okay.
So we have VISTA members that we've been having work with us since 2020. And every time a VISTA member leaves CareerCatchers, we don't want to see them go forever. So if they haven't lined up another job after ours, we bring them back as a contractor. So we have one who's doing grant writing for us, another one who's doing fundraising for us, another one who's doing data analytics for us. And then we have 3 VISTA members who provide those kinds of services. And then we use countless volunteers. I think when we actually count up all our volunteers, it's like 40 a year or so who provide services in different areas for CareerCatchers. They might do a workshop for us on interviewing, for example, or they might do a workshop on how to create a good LinkedIn profile. We have a couple of volunteers who teach basic skills classes, Microsoft Office, Google Docs, that kind of thing.
So the volunteers are playing a key role in your mission.
A very key role in our mission.
And talk a little bit about the training or the age of the volunteers. Are there any limitation with the volunteers?
Yeah, so we have volunteers as young as high school sophomores. Okay. Every summer we work with Liberty's Promise, and they place 2, they're called interns, 2 interns with us for the summer. And so they're great. They have all kinds of wonderful digital skills that some of the older folks might not have. So we've been using Liberty Promise volunteers since 2015, I think. Every summer we get a few Liberty Promise volunteers. Then we work closely with JCA and some of their volunteers. So the spectrum of ages goes from 14 to 80 in terms of what kind of volunteers we use.
Well, we've been covering a lot, and we only have a few minutes left, or a minute left or so. So in this moment in time, is there anything that you would like to share with our viewers that could help CareerCatchers leap forward in 2025 and beyond?
Yes. So what I would want to say is, because of COVID and things closing down and people having to depend more on digital skills, we knew, but we realized in spades how lacking in digital skills a lot of the folks who come to us are.
Okay.
The population needs more digital training because without those digital skills you can't get a good job. So we're always looking for ways to get them computers, to get them training, to get them hooked up with digital training. The other thing is we worry now with what's going on at the federal level and funding, what's going to happen to our funding. Nothing drastic has happened yet. We have lost a couple of smaller contracts. So we're looking for ways to get people engaged to work and do some of the things that we previously paid for, and also to make donations to CareerCatchers.
Absolutely. Well, this has certainly been an enlightening and inspiring conversation, and we do hope that our viewers reach out to you and give you what you need to continue this work that you're doing. Marianna, thank you so much for being with us on Make a Difference, and we appreciate all you're doing to make a difference.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on today.
Thank you. That's it for this segment. Stay with us, and we'll be right back.
Did you know there are more than 10,000 county government phone numbers? But there's only one number you need to remember for non-emergency calls: 311. MC311 is Montgomery County government's online telephone information system. Need information? Have a problem or complaint? Trying to locate a county government facility? Call 311. The call center is open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The website is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
People tell me how lucky my daughter is to have been adopted. But really, we're the lucky ones. Learn more at adoptuskids.org.
Welcome back to Make a Difference. I'm your host, Florence Jewell. With me is Rodrigue, Montgomery County Caribbean Community Liaison, who champions and strengthens relationship between the county and the diverse residents it serves. He is a resident of Montgomery County for over 30 years and hails from the Caribbean island of Haiti. He is the author of one book entitled The Years of Haiti in the Shade of the American Empire. Why did Haiti collapse? And dozens of articles published in both Haiti and the United States. He studied journalism in Berlin, Germany, before completing graduate studies in international affairs and public policy at Georgetown University. Welcome to the show, Rodrigue.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, and it's nice to meet you in person.
Likewise. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. Rodrigue, let's start with your journey to the position that you're in. Tell us a little bit about how your background and your experiences have positioned you for this role.
Thank you. So briefly, from my native country of Haiti, to where I started as a journalist, and coming here in the late 80s, I've done numerous jobs until I went to Georgetown, working there, worked for Georgetown for over a decade, and took the opportunity to go to school thanks to a tuition program that they have.
Right.
And after that, I went on to pursue a career in writing again, just published that book you mentioned, The Years of Haiti, and had an opportunity to work for the state of Maryland as the managing director for the New American Workforce Program. So, and I spent about 6 years. I was really developing that program for the state.
Right.
And we created it, made it now a full-fledged program, state-level program for providing guidance and to enable immigrants to integrate our society. And from there, I landed here with the Office of Community Partnerships, working as Caribbean Liaison. That's a great opportunity.
Absolutely. I want to just unpack a little what you said, but before we do that, I want to just ask you, if we were to, our viewers wanted to read your book, what would be the recommended chapter you would ask us to really focus on? And why?
Yes, definitely the third chapter, because in that chapter I talk about the symbolism of the Haitian Revolution, in which I describe how that revolution sort of changed the course of history. And that on the one hand, you have Napoleon Bonaparte, who was pursuing to extend his empire in the Americas, because the Louisiana territories were still under the French government, or Napoleon's sort of power. And so the Haitian Revolution, in a sense, halted his pursuit, and that led him to sell the Louisiana territories to the United States. Imagine. And the reason he did that is because he lost the war. They were losing the war in Haiti, and so that has to be the first recourse for him. Second, it was the revolution, the Haitian Revolution, which prompted the end of slavery. And you and I, we would not be here, apparently. I can go to that extent to say that if it wasn't for that revolution at the time, we don't know how much longer we would be in slavery. So, because we were in slavery for 300 years before.
Absolutely.
So we only 200 so after the Haitian Revolution. So that's the idea that's the symbolism of that revolution. And I said that because this is also the reason why we see Haiti where it is now, because it sort of changed the system upon which slavery, that African slaves, that the world economy was built on. And for that, Haiti is really paying a lifetime price.
And let's talk about Haiti and then the entire Caribbean community, which you are the liaison for.
Yes.
Can you give us a little Caribbean 101? It's like the countries that make up the Caribbean, and then we'll talk a little bit about what are the issues and policies that you are engaged in the county?
Sure. Recently, we were invited at one local high school, and I went in this school and asking some students questions about the Caribbean, and I was asking them, name me some Caribbean countries.
Yes.
And I quickly realized how very little people know about the Caribbean, and they could name one or two countries. We have close to 30 countries in the Caribbean. Some countries are nation states. They are fully independent, about 14 of them,
Okay.
from Haiti to Cuba to the Dominican Republic and Trinidad and Tobago and so forth, and others are sort of still considered dependencies, or they have a constitutional monarchy where the Queen or King of England now is the head of state. Whereas these other countries, they have their own government, parliamentary system, plus an elected president. So we are, this is a great community of people. We are very welcoming. We love to see guests and people traveling, tourists. So that's the beauty of our Caribbean sphere, where we are not just a place where people come for the beaches and have fun, but we have a beautiful history that we love for people to know.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And a lot of Caribbean people have made a significant contribution. Our former vice president of
Yes.
Jamaican ethnicity in her family.
Our current governor is the
yes.
son of Jamaica. Yes.
Absolutely.
And former White House Chief of Staff, Press Secretary was a daughter of Haiti. So yes, we have contributed a lot to this country. Yes.
And we also have Council Member Lauren Sales.
Lauren Ann Sales, absolutely. She's a child of Jamaican parents as well. Correct.
So when we look at our Caribbean American community, what are some of the things that you're in the community working on in terms of issues and concerns? And this is a loaded question, do they feel like, policies and their issues are being heard in the county?
Absolutely. We live we all know we live in the best county
Right.
in the country. And Montgomery County does pay attention to the cries and concerns of its communities. And as liaisons, we do make it our job to carry out the voices and bring the voices of our communities, all the concerns, all the fear, whether it's from housing to unemployment to safety to transportation and now to also immigration.
Right.
Because the situation, the immigration policies have changed, and people are very worried. People are reaching out. I'm receiving calls. I had to turn off my phone here to make sure that it's not going to ring and disturbing this interview, because people are calling just constantly with fear, thinking what's going to happen to them, their kids, and so forth. So we hear their concerns, and we try to connect them with resources and give them the information that they need to have a good life, and have a better life than what they run away from in their own countries.
Absolutely. And so again, we're in a climate that's changing every day, and like you said, the immigration policy and then the restriction on some countries. So
Correct.
in terms of that, how can our viewers support you? I know you have an advisory group, and they're working on different, like you said, public safety, health and wellness, education, youth, immigration. How can we support and assist you more in what you're doing?
The best way is to either go on our website, on the county website, that is www.montgomerycountymaryland.gov/partnerships.
Right.
And there they not only can have my contact information, or go through the Montgomery County Volunteer Center. There they can learn how to become engaged in the community. And either way, we will be able to have them, connect them with what they want to do, whether they want to serve a particular community or learn through us, with us. That's the best way to do that, by reaching out to us.
Well, I'm really glad that you put a plug in for the Volunteer Center. We will have information on the site. Are there any events that have passed or coming up that you want to reference that we can look forward to and participate in with you?
Thank you. Like, this is the month of Caribbean Heritage Month.
Absolutely.
And last night I was at the Civic Building Veteran Plaza as we joined this nonprofit organization called Carnival Nation. They hosted a wonderful festival open to all. We had people from all the Caribbean sphere, and that was yesterday. And this week, obviously, tomorrow, we are going to have the Caribbean Proclamation event with the county executive and other officials in the executive office building. Then for the rest of the month, we will be having different activities, and people also can learn more about that through the same process. Go to www.montgomerycountymd.gov/partnerships, and there you can learn or have my contact information so we can share this with the public.
Absolutely. Now, we're taping this in June, but it will be aired in July. So
then they will do this for next year. They will know for next year.
Absolutely. And talking about the festival and the culture diversity that you bring to the county, let's talk about the youth and the seniors in your community. In our community, what are you doing, or what are some of the things that are taking place for the youth and the seniors?
Well, for the youth and the senior, when we looked at really the Caribbean community, and
Right.
that's one thing I really have been trying to encourage all members of the community to become more engaged and involved through the Volunteer Center program. Whether they're youth, kids who are students who want to learn SSL hours,
Yes.
through the Volunteer Center, through our office, they can contact us, and so we can introduce them to those services, and as well as local small businesses who want to get their name out. Contact the Volunteer Center, reach out to us. We will give them that opportunity to showcase their services and attract more people. So that's some of the things that we do. And folks, adults, seniors who want to join the service as volunteer, same way, to be able to serve on local boards, county groups, advisory groups, and so forth. So these are the type of things that I think I have been really very adamant about reaching out to people, universities, embassies. I reach out and build partnership to introduce our communities into serving that broader community, not just Caribbean community. We're serving everybody.
Absolutely,
exactly.
everyone.
Yes.
Rodrigue, this has been a great conversation, and we're out of time here. And I just want to thank you for all that you're doing in serving all of the community, and specifically the education that you've given to me and some of our viewers in terms of the Caribbean community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's it for this episode of Make a Difference. I'd like to thank our guests, Marianna McNeill, Rodrigue Fortel, and the County Cable Montgomery production team and the editing team, and you, our audience. I'm your host, Florence Jewell. Remember, change starts with you. If you would like to volunteer, contact the Montgomery County Volunteer Center at 240-777-2600 or visit our website. Until next time, let's be inspired, involved, and be sure to make a difference.